I walked into the restaurant and knew at once that something wasn't right. My parents' anniversary dinner was already over. The plates were gone, wine glasses left behind, damp with condensation. That heavy stillness that settles in after the bill has been paid hung in the air. My mother glanced up and gave me that gentle smile she uses when she's about to ask for a favor. "Oh, you're late," she said casually. Then, as if we'd all practiced the line, she added, "You don't mind taking care of the check, do you?" My sister laughed. No shock, no discomfort. And in that moment, it hit me. I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to finish something once and for all tonight. My name is Diana. I'm 30 years old. And for most of my life, my family has summed me up with a single word: easy. Easy to manage. Easy to depend on. Easy to ask for things. It was never meant kindly. From the outside, my family looks stable. Parents still married, always hosting dinners. A younger sister who smiles in every photo. Holiday cards that show up right on schedule every year. Sit us around a table and you'd think we were close, affectionate, normal. But closeness isn't about how often you're together. It's about who's allowed to take up space. Growing up, my sister Tiffany filled all of it. Her opinions carried weight. Her moods controlled the room. If she wanted something, everything adjusted to make it happen. I figured out early that staying quiet made things easier. Being low maintenance earned approval. When I didn't ask for anything, my mom would squeeze my arm and say, "See, Diana understands." Understanding became my assigned role. By my mid-20s, that role came with bills. Not formal ones, just unspoken expectations. I paid for small things at first: groceries, utilities, a quick trip that somehow went over budget. Each time it was described as temporary, and each time it silently became permanent. I never formally explained my career to my family. I didn't exactly lie. I just didn't correct them when they assumed I had a modest job, something safe, something that explained why I dressed simply and avoided talking about money. Letting them underestimate me kept the peace. It also kept the requests coming. My parents loved marking milestones, anniversaries, birthdays, promotions that weren't really promotions. They preferred places that felt important, where staff knew their names, where menus skipped prices altogether. And somehow, I was always contacted last, after reservations were set. After choices were locked in. I told myself it was coincidence. Bad timing. That familiar lie you repeat until it starts to sound true. On the night of their anniversary, I came straight from work, exhausted but cooperative. I brought a small gift. Thoughtful, personal, something that said I still showed up even if I was late. But standing there, staring at cleared plates and easy smiles, I felt that old knot tighten in my chest, the one that murmured, "You already know how this ends." I watched my father sink back in his chair, completely content. I saw my sister scrolling through her phone, utterly unfazed. They weren't waiting for me to sit down with them. They were waiting for me to step into my role. And for the first time, instead of shrinking into that familiar position, I wondered what might happen if I refused to play it. I took the seat they'd left open for me, the only chair without a coat hanging from the back. The table still carried the scent of butter and wine, indulgent and finished. My mother lifted her water glass and let out a satisfied sigh, the kind people make when a performance has ended exactly as planned. "You should have come earlier," she said, not reproachful, just factual. The service was incredible. My father nodded as he loosened his collar. "You missed the best part." Tiffany never looked up from her phone. "We saved you dessert," she said, then gave a quiet laugh. "Well, kind of." A server arrived with a leather check folder and set it neatly in the center of the table. No one reached for it. No one needed to. It simply waited for me. My mom tilted her head. "You don't mind taking care of this, right? We figured since you've been working so much lately." She let the sentence fade, as if generosity was implied, as if this was an unspoken agreement between adults. Tiffany finally glanced up, her eyes flicking from the check to my face. "Relax," she said. "You're always good at handling things like this." She smiled, amused, still as clueless as ever. That word hit harder than I expected. I scanned the table. My father wouldn't meet my gaze. My mother's smile stayed fixed. Tiffany was already back on her phone. And something shifted. Not anger, not yet. Just clarity. I replayed the past year in my head. The last-minute dinner invitations. The messages that always came after reservations were already made. How no one ever asked what worked for me, only told me. I remembered how tonight's invitation had included no time, just a location. "We're already here," my mom had said. "Come when you can." When you can. I looked again at the plates, spotless. No crumbs. No pause. They hadn't been waiting for me to eat. They'd been waiting for me to arrive. And I realized this had nothing to do with celebration, or family, or even money. It was about certainty. They were certain I'd show up. Certain I'd pay. Certain I wouldn't make it awkward. That certainty had been built over years, layer by layer, every time I stayed quiet to keep things smooth. The check folder felt heavier just sitting there. I lifted my glass, took a slow sip of water, and said nothing. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't defend myself. Because in that moment, I understood something I'd been avoiding for a long time. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a system. And systems don't collapse from conversations. They collapse when someone stops feeding them. I paid the bill that night, not because I felt trapped, and not because I was scared. I paid because I needed one final, clean data point. One last confirmation that I wasn't imagining the pattern. On the drive home, city lights smeared across my windshield. My phone buzzed once. A message from my mom. "Thank you for handling that. We knew we could count on you." No heart emoji. No warmth. Just relief, like a box had been checked. At home, the silence felt different. Not heavy, but focused. I dropped my keys, slipped off my shoes, and opened my laptop. The glow of the screen filled the dark room, steady and honest. I didn't open my work files. I opened the folder I avoided, the one I'd been quietly adding to for years without ever naming it. Payments. Bills. Transfers. Support. Each entry looked small on its own, reasonable, justifiable. Together, they told a very different story. I scrolled slowly. Dinner after dinner. Travel costs. Emergency loans that were never repaid. Utilities I'd been covering so long no one asked anymore. This wasn't generosity. It was infrastructure. I leaned back and let the numbers sink in. The total wasn't what shocked me. The timeline was. How early it began. How quietly it expanded. How easily everyone reshaped their lives around it. Caleb stepped into the room carrying 2 mugs of coffee. He didn't ask what I was doing. He never did. He set one beside me and waited. "They didn't even pretend tonight," I said. He nodded. "They didn't need to." I told him what Tiffany had said, the laugh, the word clueless. Caleb's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed even. "That's what people say when they believe you'll never stop." I looked back at the screen, at lines that once felt like kindness and now read like obligation. "This ends," I said, not with anger, but with certainty. Caleb didn't argue or celebrate. He asked one simple question. "Do you want to talk to someone before you do?" I already knew the answer. My attorney, the one who handled my financial boundaries, not my feelings. I closed the laptop. Not because I was finished, but because the plan had begun to take shape. I wasn't going to confront them. I wasn't going to announce anything. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was simply going to stop participating. And I knew the collapse wouldn't be loud. It would be immediate. I didn't tell my family anything. I didn't send a long message. I didn't hint. I let routine do what it always did, carry them forward under the assumption that I'd arrive and clean up afterward. 2 weeks later, my mom texted about dinner. Same restaurant. Same tone. Anniversary makeup. We should all be together. No question mark. No time. Just a location. I said yes. When I arrived that night, nothing had changed. The lighting was warm. The hostess smiled like she recognized us. My parents were already seated. Tiffany was mid-story, hands flying, while her boyfriend nodded like every word was fascinating. No one paused when I sat down. My mom touched my arm briefly. "There you are," she said. We went ahead and ordered. "You know how long menus take?" I smiled. Not tight. Not forced. Calm. Dinner unfolded exactly as it always had. Plates came and went. Bottles appeared without anyone mentioning price. My dad laughed louder after his second drink. Tiffany checked her phone between bites, tilting it just right for photos. No one asked what I wanted. I noticed everything. The way my mom leaned back, satisfied. The way my dad never glanced at the menu. The way Tiffany ordered something to share and slid it closer to herself. It was choreography, perfectly rehearsed. Halfway through the meal, my mom said casually, "Oh, did you ever hear back about that other thing?" I knew what she meant. Another cost. Another assumption. "Not yet," I said. She nodded, unconcerned. "Well, we'll talk later." Later. That word used to knot my stomach. Tonight, it didn't. When dessert plates arrived, I caught the server's eye and gave a small nod. She hesitated, then placed the check folder at the edge of the table. Same spot. Same silence. No one moved. My mom looked at it, then at me. "Whenever you're ready," she said gently. I didn't reach for it. I stood up instead. "I'm going to speak with the manager for a moment," I said. The table went still. Tiffany blinked. "Why?" "I have a question," I replied, still calm. The manager came over right away, polite, professional. I dropped my voice just low enough that the rest of the table couldn't catch every word, but high enough that they sensed a shift. "Hi," I said. "I just wanted to double-check something about the account connected to this table." The manager gave a small nod and glanced at his tablet. His face changed slightly, not alarmed, just focused. "Yes," he said. "It appears the previous authorizations are no longer active." My mother straightened in her chair. "What does that mean?" The manager looked from her to me. "It means we'll need a payment method from the party dining tonight." The silence hit like a weight. My father cleared his throat. "There's usually no problem." "I understand," the manager replied gently. "But this evening, there's no account on file." My mother looked at me. Truly looked. Her smile disappeared. "Diana." I met her eyes. "I won't be paying for dinner tonight." Tiffany let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Okay, very funny." "I'm serious," I said. My father's brow creased. "What's going on?" I settled back into my chair and folded my hands in my lap. "What's going on is that I've been covering more than just meals for a long time, and I'm done." My mother lowered her voice. "You're doing this here." "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I'm just not doing what you expected." Tiffany scoffed. "So you're really going to embarrass us?" I looked straight at her. "You weren't embarrassed when you laughed at me last time." Her mouth opened, then shut. My father leaned forward. "This is family. You don't just stop helping without a conversation." "I've been talking," I said. "You just weren't listening." The manager shifted awkwardly. I turned to him. "We'll need separate checks." My mother inhaled sharply. "Separate?" "Yes," I said. "Mine, and yours." The manager nodded and walked away. My mother's face flushed. "You can't do this." "I can," I said. "And I am." Tiffany shoved her chair back. "This is unbelievable. After everything we've done for you." I almost laughed. Not from cruelty, but from clarity. "What you've done," I said carefully, "is teach me that love comes with an invoice. And I don't accept that anymore." My father shook his head. "You think you're teaching us a lesson?" "No," I said. "I'm teaching myself one." The checks returned, one thin folder, one heavy stack. My mother stared at them as if they were written in a foreign language. "I don't have my card," she said automatically. "I know," I replied. Tiffany whispered something to her boyfriend. He stood up, visibly uncomfortable. "I need to take this call," he muttered, already walking away. My mother's hands shook as she opened her purse. My father reached for his wallet, then paused. For the first time, they didn't look angry or offended, they looked unprepared. The manager waited quietly. My mother lifted her gaze to me, her eyes sharp now. "You're enjoying this?" "I'm not," I said honestly. "I'm finished." She searched my face for guilt, for softness, for the daughter who would step in and fix it. She didn't find her. They paid slowly and awkwardly, asking questions they didn't like the answers to. I paid my portion and stood. As I walked away, my mother said my name. Not harshly, not sweetly, just unsure. I didn't turn back. Outside, the air felt cooler, lighter. I knew this wasn't over. I knew phones would ring, messages would arrive, accusations would be thrown. But the system had broken. And once that happens, nothing ever works the same again. The fallout didn't hit all at once. It came in waves, short texts, missed calls, messages that began polite and ended sharp. I didn't reply to any of them. Not out of spite, but out of certainty. Without my quiet support, things changed quickly. Dinners became smaller. Plans were suddenly delayed. The confidence my parents wore so easily began to fracture, not dramatically, just enough to notice. Tiffany stopped posting photos from places that required reservations. Her boyfriend vanished from family conversations entirely. No one apologized. I didn't expect them to. What surprised me was how little guilt I felt. I'd imagined this moment for years, thinking it would hurt more, that I would grieve something. Instead, I felt steady, like I'd finally set down a weight I'd been carrying without realizing how heavy it was. At home, life felt quieter, in the best way. Caleb and I took our time over dinner, no rushing at all. We talked about our jobs and about plans that weren't shaped by anyone else's demands. For the first time, my time felt like it truly belonged to me. I didn't cut my family out of my life, I simply stopped padding theirs. I quit softening every edge and absorbing the consequences for them. When they contacted me, I responded with honesty. When they asked for help, I said no and didn't justify it. And then something unexpected happened. The world didn't fall apart. I didn't turn heartless. I became decisive. The incident at the restaurant slowly slipped into the past, but the lesson stayed with me. Boundaries aren't barriers. They're doors you decide when to open. And when you finally close one that's been draining you for years, the quiet on the other side isn't isolation, it's calm. If you've always been the one who shows up, who pays the bills, who fixes what everyone else avoids, I want you to hear this. You're not selfish for stopping. You're not unkind for choosing yourself. You have the right to set boundaries, even with family. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.